Okay, the February Direct has had some time to settle. $70 is what it is, but there's a legitimate cavalcade of top-tier titles in the pipeline for Switch owners. Putting aside my grumblings about the possibility, or dare I say likelihood, of future Switch titles also hitting that $70 mark, the system is in a really great position right now, and there's not a doubt in my mind that I have a place on my shelves for Advance Wars, Baten Kaitos, We Love Katamari, and Sea of Stars, while Metroid Prime and Octopath Traveler 2 are already pre-ordered, as well as Tears of the Kingdom as noted in previous videos. Word on the street is that this Direct is tying a bow on the Switch's so-called heavy hitters, and the real pie-in-the-sky types out there believe that this is setting up for Nintendo to reveal a new platform around E3 for a holiday launch. However, based on what we know, the timetable doesn't line up for something like that. Now, I'll do another video sometime soon about why system life cycles are lengthening in general, and why it's in our best interests that they do, but I felt now would be a better time to prognosticate the remainder of the Switch's lifespan through the eventual generational transition, based on the premise that it really is winding down from a AAA perspective after Tears of the Kingdom, with one glaring and obvious exception. Simply put, this is a video about the journey from Tears of the Kingdom to new Nintendo Switch, and why, despite not being as hype as a here and now next-gen reveal and launch would be, it's a journey well worth taking. I'll pick things up at E3 2023, or at least adjacent to it since, as we all know, Nintendo has no official affiliation with the show this year, but I'd be genuinely surprised not to see a Direct drop in the middle of the conference schedule this year of all years. We'll see some Pikmin 4 as the game is making its last push toward release at this point, and I feel like Miyamoto really wants the series to be a bigger thing with players than it has been over the years. Unlike the February Direct, I believe we'll see footage of the redeveloped Metroid Prime 4 to close the show, but it'll be penciled in for 2024, much to the chagrin of basically everybody. But hopefully it's looked at as a good move in the long term because I'm going somewhere with it. What I do expect is a shadow drop of Metroid Prime 2 Echoes Remastered, which is basically all but confirmed to exist at this point. My thinking is that 2023 will shape up to be a year of Metroid, leading up to the 2024 release of Metroid Prime 4. I also expect Nintendo to capitalize on the release of the Super Mario Bros. Movie not with a new release, but with either a new Super Mario All-Stars, comprised of New Super Mario Bros., New Super Mario Bros. 2, and New Super Mario Bros. Wii, or a Super Mario Galaxy 2 Remastered, which was conspicuous in its absence on Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Ideally, both releases would happen. Even as a Super Mario 3D All-Stars owner, I would not be at all offended by seeing that come back for the holidays if nothing else. I imagine the rest of the Direct will focus on, as much of the community expects, ports and remasters. These are numerous and well accounted for by insiders with excellent track records. Games like F-Zero GX, Kid Icarus Uprising, Custom Robo, Golden Sun, Star Fox Assault, and the aforementioned Metroid releases, but I also expect to see some second-string actual sequels in the mix. It's long past time for a new Wave Race, as just one example. And I will keep saying it until I get it. Anyway. Finally, this would be a good time to throw out a wave of price drops. We already know that Nintendo is ramping up their orders for Switch hardware this year rather than draw them down, and if it's going to be sold at a good markdown, say $150 for Switch Lite, $200 for the baseline Switch, and $300 for Switch OLED, that would explain where they expect these sales figures to come from. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if they build up a whole marketing campaign around their push toward the all-time hardware sales record, which may be very well in reach after Tears of the Kingdom. I expect very much the same of the September Direct as the June one, but less in the way of ports and remasters that have been actively rumored up to this point, and more about stuff that we haven't heard anyone talk about yet. Now, there's no telling what Nintendo will actually announce, but I'm going to go uncharacteristically idealistic here with things like a Fire Emblem Advanced Trilogy remake in the image of Awakening, Xenoblade Chronicles X to unite that entire series in red boxes, and maybe even a new Star Fox project because, let's be honest, it's just time. 2023 is the 30th anniversary of Star Fox, and it was disappointing not to hear anything about it at the February Direct. The idea here is that Nintendo taking their eye off of the AAA major marquee release ball for a year or so can only be a good thing for their more neglected franchises and legacy releases that will have to fill up the calendar. To be completely honest, getting to the big picture, the longer we wait for a new console, the better the chance that we see Wind Waker and Twilight Princess on the Switch, because once the new system drops, it's going to be pedal to the floor on big new releases again. Just take a moment to let that fact sink in. Of course, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption Remastered is shadow dropped as part of the show, but Metroid Prime 4 is conspicuous in its absence, pointing a great big bright laser light on February 2024, because there's a pattern now. The February 2024 Direct is in large part a Metroid Prime 4 showcase, but it's releasing in late summer, not at the show, and yes, it's a $70 title. Instead, the shadow drop is something more appropriate for what we've been doing since a year prior. Metroid Legacy Collection, with remakes of Zero Mission, Samus Returns, Super Metroid, and Fusion. This would unite the entire mainline Metroid franchise on the Switch before everything wraps up for the generational transition which we're finally building toward. E3 rolls around, and at this point I expect something like Breath of the Wild in 2016 for Metroid Prime 4, with the hours-long Treehouse deep dive. But the real star of the show is new Nintendo Switch, and I'll just gloss over what I expect of this system since I already went over it all in the 8.3 video, and it hasn't changed. Backward compatible, same ecosystem, same accessory support, etc. Especially in light of Furukawa's recent comments about the Switch going into uncharted territory for Nintendo. But there's a caveat. Many of you already own a new Nintendo Switch game at this point in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and you have another one coming that summer in Metroid Prime 4. The games are actually built on the cartridge for both system specs, and the extra $10 on the price tag is specifically paying for that next-gen development. They'll run on the Switch you have now, but if you put it in a new Switch, you'll get the benefit of all the extra hardware muscle of the new console in games that will already be in your library when it launches in the fall. A bit less elegant than the rollout model I originally proposed, but it's something feasible that actually makes $70 make sense. Of course, there will be one last squirt of ports, remasters, and second-string titles leading up to the launch, some of which might even be next-gen enhanced to build hype for the new system, but the real stars of that show will be the launch games, which I fully expect will be headlined by a new Mario. Say, something like Super Mario 3D Universe, please? As well as players going back and rediscovering Tears of the Kingdom and Metroid Prime 4, which may even get some accompanying DLC to go with them, and I think that's a pretty satisfactory place to end this story. Here we've created a compatibility line situation for Nintendo, brought a host of great titles across it, gave some forgotten franchises a new lease on life that they wouldn't have gotten on a calendar cluttered with Animal Crossings and Marios and Splatoons and Fire Emblems, and built onto a legitimately turbulence-free generational transition that should allow Nintendo to hold on to all the momentum the Switch has given them, thereby addressing their own evident anxieties about it. Yes, it's all analytical and not based on any first-hand insider information, but I like to think that my track record has been pretty good on Nintendo's movements of late. So that's all for now. If you like this video, then please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out. Click the notification bell if you want to know right when the next video drops. I'm Patrick Mifflin, sounding off.